Hi, friends. Debra Morrison here, and I invite you to be as smart as squirrels. Yes, I do. Now, I live in the Northeast, and up this time of year and a couple of months later, for sure, you're going to see squirrels running around with their jowls completely expanded with all these nuts in their jowls. Yes, they are. Because they remember or they realize that the winter is coming and the snow is going to obscure their food source. They better just pack those in right now and scurry into a hiding place that's secure so that in the winter months or the colder months, when those acorns aren't as visible or perhaps have blown away or been leaf blown away or some darn thing, they have food to eat. So we need to refrain from eating every nut that we see. Now, most people have heard of an emergency fund. Yep, it sounds all very comforting, and the thought of 6 to 12 months of living expenses sitting in a side account, like at our ready, right, at the push of a button. Well, obviously, a lot of people were caught flat-footed with regard to the latest hurricane, and I don't blame them. There were so atypical affectations from this hurricane that who could have prepared for most of that? And yet, that's the exact definition of an emergency. See, an emergency can befall us. It can hit us upside the head. Personal, medical, physical, national, weather-wise related, etc. A poor diagnosis. Someone loses their job. Someone loses a big account. These are unforeseen events typically. And so I invite us to actually be in the moment, be with our feelings about that. It's a horrible feeling to not have the money to solve, if you will, because money doesn't really do a lot. And yet it is a tool to help solve some of these problems, many of which have a financial component. Just imagine the feeling if you're able to dip into that type of emergency fund, right? Like we talk about smart idea and everything, and yet if it's failed to promote the kind of necessary action that is different from the actions that we've taken up until now, right? To actually create one, then I ask us all why. And when will this need to happen? When will you be prompted to change your behavior patterns so that you won't be subject to that kind of angst, right? And I sometimes say, typically we take actions as human beings, different actions than what we've taken before when we've suffered enough. When you felt that 3 a.m. tossing and turning money angst feeling for the last time, you've had enough. And this is involved with changing ourselves from this kind of reactor mode, which I have like this all hunched over notion, right? From whatever is befalling the world and us, we react to it, right? Now you write down on a piece of paper or even imagine in your mind, reactor. But if you change the letters around, you can become a creator. Yes, you can. And it's really about that simple. If and when we change our minds about facets of our behavior, then we enact the behavior changes that bring about the actions that give us a different result. We all know the definition of insanity. Yep. Doing the same thing again and again and expecting something different. Well, Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't change from being a reactor to a creator, you're probably right. Now, I'm going to suspect that you are ready to change any and all victim kinds of things to creation kinds of activity. And that involves creating something new, creating something expansive, because maybe you've kind of shrunk into these painful positions before, these kind of penned in situations, right? I'm inviting us to do something really courageous because change always takes courage, right? And to say no to eating every single nut. Now, we're going to take pride then in doing the actions, facilitating and creating the actions that give us this changed result. Yes. And that's going to happen largely with establishing a systematic savings plan. Yes. I ask you, why do so many Americans own their own home? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the mortgage company billed them every month. Boom, 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 boom. And in the olden days, right, we wrote out a check every month. Nobody sat around and said, well, should we pay the mortgage? No, 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 no. You wrote that mortgage check out because that was the roof. And you might have even been thinking and understanding subconsciously because your parents had homes and they, bought them for a small amount and sold them for a larger amount, that would be a nest egg for you. Well, it's a dual purpose asset, right? It's a roof and an asset. And so I'm inviting us to ignite our torch, right? Ignite the torch that illuminates our space, right? That lights the path to a new way forward, a different way forward. And that torch warms us, our spirit and our surroundings. Just imagine this kind of contagion that happens because I've witnessed it firsthand. I've experienced it firsthand. I've witnessed it with clients. They take the first step and then that's the hardest. And then the next step follows and the next step follows, right? So the pride that wells up within us when we start to change a pattern that gives us a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. So it's about bringing the subconscious, if you will. Yeah, I'd like to have an emergency fund. Yeah, I'd like to have a savings account. Yes, I'd like to be better saved. Yes, I'd like to imagine how best to organize and exercise those stock options at work if that is your situation. I'd like to know which profit sharing or pension plan to make my contribution to. All of this stuff, but I never really got around to doing it. Yeah, don't have much balance in there because I never understood it fully. Well, we're going to do a lot of things in life that we don't understand fully before we take that first step. Like getting into a relationship, like falling in love, like that happens, right? People having babies, never had a baby before, or even having had a baby before. You didn't have this baby before. There's no other facet in life where we say, I must have every single step laid out before I take the first action. And yet we hold ourselves back financially too often. One, I think because we're fearful of making a misstep because perhaps none of us have made a misstep in our past. I have, yeah, with my own money. And yet the missteps are part of life. I say, welcome, to humanity. I mean, if Warren Buffett can make, several $billion mistakes, who are we to hold ourselves to this perfectionistic standard? And yet we're kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves in terms of, well, where to save and stuff like that. Whereas I want to continue to circle back for one more minute, to cement the mindset change that needs to precipitate the action. It needs to happen first in our minds, between our ears. And that really involves a gut check, right? And aligning your gut with your heart. And then I call that getting in tune with spending. Make our spending conscious spending, not subconscious spending, not automatic pilot spending. Now, our parents didn't have the kind of cell phone, okay, get this gadget, and push this button and a credit card pays it, and it's going to be in a locker for 4 miles, or if it's that much, a mile and a quarter down the road in, 25 minutes. Like our parents didn't have that kind of marketing pressure that we have. And so we are going to need to say no. We are going to say no in order for our yeses to be meaningful, you see? Because if we continue to say, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, we'll get this grocery. You'll get that grocery. We'll get this streaming TV service. We'll get that streaming TV service. Yes, we'll, go and buy extra, clothes for the season or whatever. And we all have basic needs. I get it. And yet I want us to be particularly conscious about, is everybody using what we're spending our household money on? Or are some people just using it once? And maybe you could go out and rent it then. Or if it's a particular TV streaming channel, maybe your friend has it and you intentionally pick a different one. And if your proximity is such that you can share it, it becomes not only a savings financially, but it becomes an opportunity for socializing with your friends. I mean, something we've kind of lost touch with as well. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's too late. I should have started a long time ago. I'll never catch up. Okay, first of all, that gets us, that's that reactionary kind of thing. Whoa, woe is me. Can't get out of it. Well, you can. Yes, you can. See, I practiced financial planning and asset management for 42 years, 4 decades, and 2 more years. In the last 4 years, I've been a coach, and I've watched dozens, if not hundreds, of clients recalibrate their mindset around their money and to see their money as a tool to achieve something that was near and dear to their heart. And it's particularly personal. I don't have any prescription for you or anyone. Yet I'll be asking you, and I invite you to imagine, what is it that I'm aiming for? Some people say, well, if you won the lottery and you got this big dump of money, what would you spend it on? Where would you invest it? And that's an interesting exercise. Go ahead and do that exercise. And that's going to prime the pump as to what it is that you're wanting to do, achieve, experience, etc. Some of which, is helped by money. A lot of life's pleasures are completely free, of course. So I'm inviting us to be as conscious as we can about our spending, because I'm wanting us to also envision and dust off those old dreams that maybe we haven't given any oxygen to for a long time, way too long. And we invite them to come out. I invite people to get in touch with your little 5-year-old Debbie, and whatever your name is, and say, what did Debbie want? And just talk with Debbie. All right, what would you like, Debbie? I mean, we do this baby talk with kids all the time, with kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews and kids in the store. And we're all friendly and cuddly with them. I want us to be cuddly with ourselves, because I think there's been a divorce that really needs to be mitigated. I think we need to be remembering our little joys and our big joys, and not completely deep sixing them because we've had some disappointments, small and large, because that's life. What we focus upon grows. What we water and fertilize grows. And so I'm after us seeding the kind of mental acuity, the kind of conscious spending that's going to result in behavior changes, because we have enough vested interest in that thing that we want to be able to step back from and refrain from pushing an instant gratification button for a quick purchase. I mean, all kind of tools abide. I've given courses on this. Put something in your shopping cart, let it sit there for 24 hours. Nobody's going to die here. I certainly can't guarantee that, but let something sit in your shopping cart for 24 hours. More times than not, the next day you come up, and if it gives you a reminder, something's in your shopping cart, you're like, oh God, I didn't really need that. And let's say you went ahead and bought those things, because I did this exercise almost 2 years ago. I bought a lot of gadgets. I don't know, just like one thing and it was cool, and another thing and cool. And I get them all. If someone asked me, like, I ever, name the last 8 things you bought from Amazon, I'm probably going to name 2 or 3, but probably not 8. And so I looked at them and I said, I have something that's sufficiently similar to that. That was an impulse spend, and it's okay because I'm a Prime member, and I put that thing right back in its package, and I took it to UPS, and they took it back and refunded me. And the feeling I had when I saw the credit come in was amazing. Not for the $27.46. It's for the mindset. I can do this thing. Yes, we can do it, women. Yes, we can. And it's sometimes the case that in foreign territory that we don't have the professional training or perhaps the personal experience in winning in these areas in which we're not otherwise skilled and educated, that we need a coach. And I'm happy to stand with you as your coach and tease out from you what you're going to take a stand for your life. And then I would be supportive in giving you the substance and the support, the guardrails, if you will, to keep you on that path, to help you navigate through risks that are invariably going to come up. Yes, they are. And then sometimes people say, well, I don't think I can ever do this, and I can't afford to save any more or invest any more because I'm already tapped out. Here's the thing. There's something that's going to work while you sleep. You've heard all these things you put on your Facebook. You're just looking for something, and then this ad pops up. And before I made $52,000 a minute, I was broke. Okay, great. Thanks for sharing. Many of us need a little stepping stone here before we go from here to the quite unbelievable and maybe not even truthful. Maybe marketing, 505. So let's come back to ourselves and figure out how we can enjoy that making money as we sleep. Boy, doesn't that sound cool? Passive income, right? Now, I always joke that some people go, "Oh, well, buy a couple pieces of real estate and you're going to have passive income." You like in the old days, you had this imaginary picture. You're sitting back and you're lazy, boy, and the checks are just coming into the mail. In the old days, in the mail, you go to the mailbox and you open up the checks and you write on the back of the checks, and life is easy. Well, I own 4 real estate properties, and I can tell you real estate isn't passive. No, it's not. So we can't believe every single thing we hear. It's never quite that simple. Our lives aren't that simple. But I'll tell you what is simple: compounding. Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. It's a pretty smart guy. So compounding works for us if we have money invested in the markets or in real estate or in some type of investment, and it works against us if we don't, because we've held back and we've eaten every nut that we've seen. And we didn't have the fortitude to say no so that we could save a few nuts. Well, that was in our past. Let's take a stand that today we face forward. We take radical responsibility for changing that. And so the aspect of us being eligible for compounding necessitates us putting some money away, right? And once we put some money away, that investment is going to earn some interest or some capital gains. And when it does, that's called compounding. So our initial investment goes in, and then it earns a dividend, for example, and then the dividend and the original investment earn another dividend. And you see how this starts to mushroom. Now, some people understand it better when I talk about real estate. Okay, fine. Imagine you buy a rental real estate property. Great. You have the underlying value of the property, and then you have the rent check coming in each month, right? Sometimes you're spending the rent check. God love you. Sometimes you're reinvesting the rent check into something else, probably not the principal of the house, because it's impossible to do that because you already bought the house, either all cash or you put in money down and you got a mortgage. But that rent money, let's say you take it over here and you put it in a side account. So the appreciation of the real estate principal value goes up, and the rent money that you didn't need to spend and you put over here in a side investment account, it keeps growing. And you know what? You end up with something that is eye-poppingly beautiful, called compounding. You know, the rule of 72 says you'll double your money in if you divide 72 by 7, right? It's 10 years, right? And if you divide 72 by, let's say, 9 years, you need to earn 8% to double your money in 9 years. I hope I did that right. I never like to do math on the fly. A rule of 72 divided by 7 is, 10 years. And so the aspect is that's the number of years it takes for your money to double. You can understand, wow, that's not too bad. Now, I also want to give you the clue phone that inflation is going to cause the cost of goods and services to increase between now and whenever you pull it out, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later. However, I'd certainly rather have that head start and what compounding has done for me than not. So I'm interested in us being very, very attentive and aware that we want to be in investing, particularly for the long term. Anything 7+ years, we want to be in an investment that's both has the principal appreciation possibility as well as the rent check, as well as the dividend. So principal plus income, or capital appreciation and income, and you smash those two together and it gives you the potential, or gives you total return. And so I'm inviting us to substitute from reactor to substitute creator. Let's be victorious in this. Let's even show ourselves that we can move from the passenger seat right over behind the steering wheel of our own car, because we can do it. And we must. We must. I want us to be in as good a shape psychologically and spiritually and relationally as we can, and certainly physically. And money helps that a lot. So there's no benefit. There's no return on investment to pushing that out to later, like maybe when you know all the answers to 2 or 3 of the more questions. Because guess what? Even if you had it all planned out, life changes and you're still going to need to pivot. So get started now. You might start with a shoebox. Shoebox a little bit old-fashioned. You might push money over into an account on your desk and just watch it. You're not touching it. You're just putting more money on every day, every week, whatever it is. Or you might go to the credit union or your bank or a money market or open up a betterment account or some type of a robo-advisor. I don't care what it is. Go to your employer and establish or up your 401k, 403b contribution. Systematic savings. So I do trust those entities that are set up electronically more than us sitting the money on the desk, because somehow that money on the desk somehow seems to dwindle, and we look at where's that money on the desk, see? So I'm not berating anyone. I'm simply suggesting that we live in a time that savings is so very important. Our longevity is longer than that of our parents. We've gone from defined benefit pension plans that gave us the $2,000 a month and the watch to nobody really gave us the clue phone in monosyllabic terms. Hey, you're going from defined benefit to defined contribution, pal. That means you will be contributing amounts of money now that will compound for your future income and spending needs. And so we will be about it. And the smarter and the faster we get about it, the more blessed and I don't know, fun and filled with opportunity our future years will be. So I invite us right now, just put on that mantle. I vow to be as smart as squirrels. We can do it, women. Yes, we can.